Well, welcome to class 2, live class of Foundations of Human Design. And today what we're going to go over is we're going to do a grounding, just a simple, quick grounding type of exercise first. We're going to do a few shares of people if you want to share. Not everybody has to, just a few. And then we're going to get into the teaching and we're going to go over auras. We're going to go over the types in today's class. And without having gone through the centers yet, the 9 centers, I'm going to make it very foundational. And then we're going to go in deeper underneath each type, because there's a generalized, description of each type that's out there, meaning manifestor, manifesting generator, generator, projector, reflector. And then we can go in underneath and unpack what it actually means, what each type is in a little bit deeper, with a little bit more detail. So we're going to do that, not today, but because I just want to give you the chunk and I want it to digest first, and then we'll go in deeper into that. And then we'll do questions at the end, and we will wrap up here between my time. I'm on Eastern time between 7:45 and 8 o'clock. I want to honor that time tonight. That is one of my challenges. I can get going and I get excited, and then it just like, well, now we're way over time. And so I want to honor that time that we have together and make the most out of it. So we're going to just first get into a place where you can just close your eyes if you want to close your eyes. If you don't, or if you can't or don't want to close your eyes, it's totally fine. Again, this is your journey. Just try to be in a place where you can center in, and maybe that's picking a spot on the wall in front of you or in the carpet or the floor that you just, kind of zone out to, whatever it is for you. So I just want us to all do that for a couple moments while you center in on your breath. And you don't need to be in a place that's super quiet. In fact, it's ideal if you are in a place that has distractions around you, whether it's noises or other people, anything. Because this is life, right? And this is what we're always faced with in life, is distraction. But what we can always go back into, no matter what the distraction is around us or within us, is our breath. So pay attention to everything that's going on around you. Pay attention to all of the noises, if there's wind blowing, if there's any sensation that you're feeling, that you're hearing, even that you're seeing, if your eyes are open. And center in and come back to your breath and breathe. And just pay attention. How deep is your breath? How shallow is your breath? Do you breathe through your nose? You breathe through your mouth? Do you breathe out through your nose or out through your mouth? Get curious. When you breathe in, can you breathe down in and pay attention to the breath coming in and bringing it all the way down to the soles of your feet? Can you imagine your breath going to any place in your body that is maybe a little tight right now? Your breath is one of the most powerful tools that we can work with, and we have it all the time, whether we're stuck in traffic, whether we're, with our kids that are crazy and running around and driving us nuts, maybe at work. Maybe our thoughts are just driving us nuts, especially those with a defined head and defined ajna. Allowing those distractions to be there, because this is part of life. It's not the distractions around us, it's how we respond or react to those distractions. And coming back to our breath, centering in and allowing the world to be what it is while we're centering in to who we are. Not needing it to change, not needing it to go away, not needing it to be quiet, not needing it to not be quiet, not needing it to change in any way. When we can come into this space, when all is as it is, with no judgment around it, this is when we can receive. This is when we can open our heart to allow in what is meant to come in. This is acceptance. So as you're centering in a little bit more to your space, noticing the support that you're sitting on or laying on, breathe in a few more times. Filling your belly up, exhaling it all out. Do this one more time, breathing in and exhaling it all out. When you're ready, you can come back. How do you feel? One word, 2 words of how we feel? Mandy?
Relax.
Relax?
Relaxed. Yeah.
Would you say that's how you felt coming into the class too? Or do you feel a little shift after this? Or were you already kind of in a relaxed state?
I felt the shift because I had just gotten in right before I had to dial in. So I was out running my mouth with my cousin, and now I'm just like, oh. So yeah, definitely felt the shift.
Nice. Beautiful. That's it. Whenever we're trying to be in a space of learning, we have to be in a place where we can receive. And so much of that is not just our brain going, okay, 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 but it's our body relaxing as well too. And it's just, it's being able to be in touch with our body where we can feel, our legs, our knees, our feet, and just coming back to now, coming back to ourselves, coming back to the present, and just being here right now. And distractions like my 12-year-old's doing, I don't know what he's doing outside of my room, but like distractions are a part of life, right? It's how we choose to react and respond to those distractions. Distractions will always be there. So how can we still show up in all that we are and all of our fullness, right? In who we are, rather than allowing those distractions to take us off course. So this is a big thing with human design as well too, because when we embody our design, the more we do that, we're going to have these transits coming in. We're going to be around other people all the time, right? That can take us out of our center, that can take us out of our, it can imprint us with their design, right? And we'll go into more of that. So when we know who we are, we can stand firm in that and still then allow anybody to be who they are outside of ourselves. And we don't have to try to change them and try to make them into something different, because we're embodying who we are and we're standing firm in that space. So, all right. Thank you, Wendy, for letting us know. Wendy has to leave. Is that right at 7:30 for the Zoom meeting? Okay, perfect. Thank you for giving us a heads up. Let's have maybe like 1 or 2 people just quick share if there's any kind of reflection from last week, just a quick couple minute share of anything that you noticed in your journaling of what is it like to be you, right? And what is it like to yeah, I don't know. I have gunshots going off too, and I live in South Carolina now, on the Georgia-South Carolina border and in the country, so it happens.
Hunting season too, so I understand. So I know.
So anyway, of course that goes up too when I'm talking about distraction, right? So
I understand. It's hunting season out here, so
yeah. Yeah, I think of my neighbors just do it all the time, but We'll find
That
out.
that too. That too.
So, anybody want to share their experience from this last week at all? You don't have to. Please don't feel like you need to. Oh, Ed, yes.
Okay, I know Sue's heard this already, but one of the thing that I recognized from this last week, first off, I'm a manifesting generator, is the idea that I've been really beginning to embody that the concept of things happen for me, not to me. And then all of a sudden, I had an incident over the weekend where something happened to me, and I was enraged. I was absolutely enraged. And after dealing with that and kind of letting that process through, and Sue is really wonderful about this, is, just like, hey, let it go. It's not here anymore. And it's okay. And I just had this reflection back to, hey, I'm a manifesting generator. I can create whatever I want, whenever I want. I just have to shift my focus away from what I don't have to what I can have, and what do I want to create. And then also the idea of co-creating with God. And I'm not a religious guy, but when I think of the idea of co-creating with God as a manifesting generator, it's like, oh, okay, the sky's the limit. We can do whatever we want. And so I have this newfound energy to just say, hey, you know what? No matter what happens in the realm of my experience and what is going on, I can brush myself off and say, it's okay. I got this. So that was my week.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. And that's so true for a manifesting generator, which is one of the reasons I know. Thank you to those who've shared their charts in the group. If you haven't yet, make sure you put it in there, because here's why. When we start to get to know each other in this group and we start to pay attention to how each one of us show up, we can start to go, oh, that is one way a manifesting generator is like, the essence of how they are is coming forth. Oh, that's a projector. Oh, that's how they're coming forth. So there's a manifester, that's how they're like, there's a generator, so thank you. And thank you also for saying that you're a manifesting generator, so people can see that, because that is so true for manifesting generator, especially emotionally defined as well. And which we'll go into that further down into the class, but it is so important, because if I remember right, you're emotionally defined, right, Ed? Yeah. So that is so key as well. So thank you so much for sharing that, because that is really important. It's a critical part of the journey of a manifesting generator to truly be in alignment. So yeah, thank you for your share. Bravo. And bravo to Sue for saying, kind of keeping you like, in that space of, letting it go so that you could just reflect and come to your own truth.
It's funny, because I think I would have reacted the same way if that particular thing had happened to me. I would have reacted emotionally from my gut, like, oh, how could that person have done this? And, I have to get him and get back at him and da, da, da. But I think me connecting to my design as a manifesting generator, same like Eddie said, I can create my own reality. So with me telling him, just kind of let it go. It already happened. It's already done. I think I was tapping into my own as well. And yesterday I had a meeting with a friend, someone I had met a couple of months ago, about a job opportunity. And as we're speaking about it, my gut, which I have to listen to, is telling me, this is good. This is what you need to do. Even if, it may take a while to blossom and flourish, this is what you need to do. So that was like a big aha moment I had this week.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Sue.
Thank you.
Listen into the sacral. That's awesome. That is key for the generators. Absolutely. How many generators do we have? If just somebody that you just like put your hand up, any generator or manifesting generator?
Wow.
All right. And I know Beth is a projector. Danielle, are you, I can't remember, what are you? Are you a generator, a manifesting generator?
Yes, I am. Sorry, you can't see me again today. I am still kind of working out some computer problems, so I apologize that I'm faceless yet again. But yes, I am a manifesting generator.
Okay, awesome. We're just glad that you're here. So it's okay. You know, the perfect moment, we'll see your face and we'll be like, oh my gosh, there's Danielle. It's all good. It's all good. So we have a manifester, a projector, and then the rest generators in this group. All right, that's awesome. Okay, well, we're going to go into the types here now. So you'll understand why there's more generators in here after tonight than the other types. So get your notepad out and remember that all of the, where are my notes? I'm looking for my notes now. All of the oh, hold on a second. Sorry about that. Oh, you'll be able to remember that you'll be able to go back and like watch any of these again, and remember to trust that whatever you are picking up on during the class and writing on is what you need to know right now, and the information will be there for you. This has happened to me like over the years. This is why it's so important to continue to go over the foundations, because there are things that I continue 4.5 years later to learn about, you know, projectors or reflectors or generators, manifestors, because, you know, and as we evolve as a species, and we're in this major evolution right now, as we talked about last week, there's always going to be room for, we pick up what we need to know right now, and then we integrate that, and then we're able to like to receive more. So just trust that, and trust that the information is here. And I will try to go slow enough as well too. And if I'm going too fast, please say, hey, can you slow down a little bit? So it's totally okay. So we're going to start off today talking about aura, and we're going to the magnetic monopole, which we touched on last week, basically creates all of the auras for each of the types. And I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, have probably heard of the term aura. It's kind of a big, you know, word in
I'm actually taking a 4-month class.
What's that?
Weekend.
Oh, I didn't know somebody had a question. Okay. So aura, and aura is, you know, we've seen there's scans you can do on auras. You can see different colors in people's auras. There's, you know, this energetic field basically that emanates from the body is our aura. And there's been a lot of information, sometimes confusion, sometimes, you know, just a lot out there in the, you know, realms of defining, like, what does this actually mean? Like what our aura is. And within human design, every type, there's 5 types, which is the manifestor, manifesting generator, the generator, projector, and the reflector, which we're going to go through each one of those separately. But each one of these types has its own aura. And these auras are within human design. It is how we non-verbally like communicate with the world and people around us. So it's a very unconscious way that we communicate. So for instance, the projector, or I'm sorry, the manifestor basically has a repelling aura. And so they are, you know, they can give off this impression where just, we don't even know like who this person is at times. But if you're in a room sometimes with a manifestor, or they walk into a room, at times I've heard this so often, and this has happened to me too, before I understood all of this. I'm like, oh, I bet they're a manifestor, because the manifestors, and I don't know if Alicia can, if you can relate to this at all, but people can feel intimidated around a manifestor, and they don't know why, because of the aura. And the aura can be repelling. It can be very like feeling, you know, this very independent, kind of strong, almost kind of pushing away kind of energy at times. And so each of these types has an aura that is communicating to the world. And so when we understand what our aura is and what each other's aura is around us, when we understand what their design is, then we can start to communicate in that way and understand who we are and who we are dealing with in the world, without it always being so personal. It's one of the biggest things with human design is understanding that nothing is personal. It's mechanics and it's how we're designed. And so so basically, we know that there are like within the aura, within human design, each aura has a specific shape to it. And it's just, again, it's how we communicate in this like multidimensional universe that, that we're in. And so it is, yeah, like, okay, I want to also too talk about, I put in a video in the group this last week, and it is, I'm going to probably butcher his name, but Nassim, Nasseim, Nasseim, and then Haramine. Anyway, he's got some really great videos just on YouTube. And basically, we know that 99% of activity, science, like shown that like 99.9% of activity and energy happens in the space rather than in the matter. So the space informs the matter. And so there's so much more happening than what we can see with our eyes, or even, just what our mind can conceptualize. And that is the biggest thing within human design as well too, and just understanding that the mind is not the driver of our lives. There's so much more underneath the surface. And so our own aura really kind of sets that foundation, sets the flow of how our energetic type is moving throughout the world. So the other thing too, within our aura and within the energy that we're in this world that we're in, humanity started to lose like our deep connection to existence. There's this, as you can see within the human design, it's a binary. There's the personality side and there's the design side. And it's calculated from 2 different dates also and times, which we talked about last week. And so we are in this place, even within ourselves, that, and you can see this in collectively, what has happened over time, hundreds, maybe thousands of years. But, we went from a point in time where we were handing over all of our power and all of our authority, right, to like the church and to different gods and things, which is like the subjective brain, it's the right brain. And then we went in through this whole scientific revolution where it's like the left brain, right, and very objective thinking, and where it was all about the measurement of things, and it was about the mind and how we can make sense of things, and if it didn't make sense and if it wasn't logical, then it couldn't be. And so what happened is there was a tear between the worlds and the hemispheres, even in our brain. It was between the divine, the spiritual, the space, the subjective right brain, and form, so which is science, left brain, matter. And so space, though, the empty space actually gives, like, informs the matter. There wouldn't be matter without space. They couldn't survive without each other. And so it's really about understanding this we live really not in a universe, but in a binary universe type of thing, because in this realm that we're living in, it's always this or that, it's black or white, it's nighttime or daytime, it is up or down, and there's nothing good or bad about it. We've just put those words, we've tried to measure all of these things. Our brains are trying to function in a space that there's been trauma, I guess, within history, within the collective, and within our own processes through our ancestors and everything else. And so basically the whole idea within human design, within our auras as well too, and what we're giving off, and is our mind. It's trying to allow the mind to be the passenger. And so the mind, though, is not meant to operate. We need our mind, it just doesn't make decisions. And so it's meant to function in a realm like within our brain that how do I want to put this? It's about the pineal gland. The pineal gland governs, the melatonin and like neurological diseases and disorders. And when it gets calcified, it can't actually navigate. It's wanting to navigate. It's wanting to do the job that it's not actually designed to do. And so therefore, like our own auras are we can't understand, we can't really read the field when our pineal gland is calcified. And that comes from like pesticides, it comes from stress, it comes from, just even fluoride, in our water, things like that. No sun, when we're not getting out and we're not allowing our eyes to bring in the sun, things like that. Not on sleep patterns, how was our sleep, even blue light from our technology. There's so many different things. And so our mind is trying to do the job that it's not designed to do. And we bring in information within our mind to be able to understand what's going on within other people's auras. And so we can't do that though, if our mind isn't operating correctly. And if our brain is too much and hasn't healed and come back into this middle space between finding this beautiful balance between spirit and science, right? That we can't, it's not about dissecting and having, it's about the whole. It's not about little pieces within the whole and taking those things out. It's about bringing everything together. And that is the whole process of human design. That is how we then will start to operate in the world and start to bring in information within other people's auras when we're just coming into contact with them, even without words. And we'll start to understand, because oftentimes now what we call our intuition is based on conditioning. It's based on societal programming. It's based on fear. It's based on ancestral trauma. It's based on this life's trauma. It's based on so many things. So what we need to really do is pay attention to the mind, and realize that it is creating a story. Our mind is always creating a story that is determining our level of consciousness. And so what we're trying to do within human design and deconditioning is to, when we're receiving this stimuli, when we're in the world with other people and when, our auras are bumping into each other's auras, is that then we're receiving this information, this data at any moment. And then we don't have to think about it and try to process it. We just know, we just understand, almost like in the beginning here of this class, when we just went in and centered in. There's always distraction. There's always these, bombardments around us of our energy and of our attention. But when we can stay centered, then we're able to tune in a way that we're not able to when we're not. And so that might have been, try not to have that be confusing, but just know that all the types that are in human design, all the 5 types, have their own aura. And we're interacting with these auras all day long, when we're at the coffee shop, when we're at the grocery store, when we're in a room with, other people, we're always interacting with them. And the way to understand who somebody else is, and even who we are, is the deconditioning process. And our mind is filling us full of stories about everything that's happening around us if we're not actively doing the deconditioning process. And so our pineal gland is huge with that. Yes.
Can I jump in really quick? So one of the things that you touched on around the feeling of the auras and things around you, that is something that I would say, especially over this last year, that has been, if I walk into a room or I walk into a building, energetically, I can immediately pick out where a threat might be. And it's just like this other, like this intuition, or like if I see someone, there's just some feeling that I have. It's like, oh, I need to be careful. And it doesn't matter who it is. It's just one of those things. It could be male, female. It doesn't matter what. It's just energetically, I'm like, okay, I need to guard myself. Maybe they just are having a bad day, and I'm picking up on that. But it's like I'm finding myself getting very guarded versus just being wide open and then being surprised. And when I do that, I also feel like I have a lot more discernment when I am working with people, when I'm dealing with people. It's like, okay, well, I can see past what I'm seeing here, and I'm really beginning to see who they are,
Mm.
and then I can interact with them in a more free way.
Yeah.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
It does make sense. What I hear in that, and tell me if I'm incorrect in what I'm hearing, but being able to operate and interact with them from a more space of maybe more authenticity or more integrity, because there's not the stories maybe going on. Is that what I
Right.
hear?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly it. So that's the thing, like the mind will create these stories, right? And that is all based on our conditioning and things like that. And so one of the things we'll learn within human design is, especially with our strategy and our authority, when we get into that space, there's no, like, one of the things we can check is if there's a story happening within anything that's happening. Am I, it's like, oh gosh, is my mind making up a story right now of why I should do this, why I shouldn't do this, why this person is this or that or whatever? Then you can pretty much be sure that there's a level of conditioning involved within that, because when we know, and we're moving into this space of spirit consciousness, where it's not about our mind trying to make these decisions and rationalize and come up with stories around it. It's about being open, like you're saying, Ed, and then feeling into these situations and not allowing our mind to dictate it, especially when it's been injured really throughout humanity. And it's not that it's just, this has just happened throughout our collective, there's a split between the left and the right. There's a split and it's coming and it's merging, this back in. And so it's about allowing our mind to be the passenger again, and not to direct the show. And that is when we start to receive that information from other people's auras in a correct way, where we're like, oh, that person, say a projector, oh gosh, they need me to recognize them, because a projector's aura actually initiates another person to bring in an invitation or bring in recognition. But if we're all messed up and we're creating stories around this, that, or this person or anything else, we're going to feel like, I don't want to give this person, recognition or whatever. We're going to have all these stories around that, or we'll go over the top. It won't be authentic. It won't be from a place of just innocence. And so basically human design, it helps us, kind of understand our aura to make the best use of it. And it's restoring our decision-making center, which is our authority, not the mind, to our being. That's taking like all of who we are in every dimension and every, context that we want to like look into. But it's bringing in accordance with the highest like self for the greatest, like greater good of all, really. And that's what this is about. That's what this is about. But that's why we have these auras, because it allows us to feel into the other. But it's so important that we do the deconditioning process in order to really understand the information that someone non-verbally is expressing through their aura. So the first type is a generator that I'm going to discuss tonight. And again, all of these types I'm going to go over, and I'm going to go over just the foundational part of them. And it will be a lot, but I'm going to try to keep it as simple as we can tonight. And then we'll go in deeper within each type on the next class. So generators and manifesting generators encompass about 70% of the world. We live in a sacral world. So how do we know that someone is a generator? In the Zoom, it should be in there in the chat. If you guys all want to go to the chat, I put in a picture of the 9 centers. And I don't know if you guys can see that at all, but if you go into the chat, let's see here, let me make sure. I checked it before just to make sure.
I think sometimes, Erin, if you put things in the chat before people have signed in, they won't be able to see it.
Well, darn it. I thought I did all like, okay. Well, thank you. Well, basically, if you look at a chart, if you have your chart in front of you, and that's probably a good thing, just, for every class, just make sure you have your chart in front of you. The sacral, for those who don't know, the sacral center is the second up from the bottom. it should be probably like a red square on your chart, but it's second up from the bottom. All generators will have this defined. Manifestors, projectors, reflectors will not. It will be open or white. It will not be colored in. And so, so yeah, all the generators in here except for Alicia and Beth will have that center colored in. So that's how you can tell a generator or a manifesting generator. And like I said, it's 70% of the population. And so, hold on a second, I lost where I was. Generators are, like they are here right now in this time also to transmute the archetype of the slave, which is really important to know right now because generators, all generators they can get into a place of, because they can do the work, because the sacral that it's defined is an energy center. They have more energy than any other type on the earth. The generators are the workers. They are the ones who get things done. And so because they have the energy to do what needs to be done, a lot of times generators will get themselves into a position where they're just working to work because they have the energy, but they don't love their work. It's important for all generators to literally be lit up by the sacral, to be turned on by life. Like generators have the most intimate, generators are designed to have the most intimate relationship with life. Generators are here to respond from that sacral space. It's your gut. It's that guttural response of like, oh, like yes, or ugh, no. And there's no words to it. It's just a body thing. And the mind can't make sense of it. It's a body thing. Either you're going to like lean into it or you're going to be like, ugh, no. And so it could be like, ugh, it sounds, it can be, it's words don't generally come with it. It has its own language. And generators are here to respond to life at every moment. They're responding to sounds that are around them. They're responding to color. They're responding to smells. They're responding to, words, questions, just that kind of, they're here to respond to everything in life. And so they're here to really pay attention to life and have an intimate experience with life. Be really, truly like in love with life. You're here to receive. If you're a generator, a manifesting generator, you are here to receive and know that what is meant for you will be in your field. If it is not meant for you, you are not designed to, to initiate. And you're not designed to just do it and just go for it. That's conditioning. That's a manifestor's job. That's not a generator's job. Another term for a generator is an alchemist. Karen Curry Parker, I've done several classes that she has with her, and she has a quantum language. So I'm going to add that into the other terminology for the types. So a generator, another term that you can use for a generator is alchemist, because what a generator does is it turns this idea that the manifestor had, or that a manifesting generator had, and it brings it into form. It takes us, it's like a seed, moving into a plant or a flower. And so another term for generator is an alchemist. Another term for a manifesting generator is a time bender. And manifesting generators are a little different than generators from the standpoint of they move really fast. And really fast. Like they're the Energizer bunnies, and they are the most powerful energetic beings on this planet, because they generally have, they have a motorized throat. We'll go into that later, but they have basically a channel that is directly from their sacral area, that defines all generators, that goes all the way up to the throat center on the chart, which is the manifestation center. And the only types that have that are manifestors and manifesting generators. And so, but all generators, no matter if you're a manifesting generator or a generator, your first line of defense is to respond first before you take action on anything. We're going to go into strategy and authority and all of that, what that means later. Just mark these down and take note of this, and it will all make sense. The aura of a generator and a manifesting generator is enveloping and open. Again, remembering that they bring everything into them that is meant for them. The mind, as a generator, you can think in your mind and visualize and, be like, oh, I really want this to happen. Or I'm like visualizing, just manifesting something. Absolutely do that in your mind and be like, okay, God, life, universe, I want this. I really want this to come into form or into fruition. And then you wait for something in your external environment to bring that to you so you can respond to it. But just because you think about something like, oh, I'm going to go do that. I want to go do that, right? Coming from the mind, the incorrect thing to do would be to act on that. That's where generators meet resistance in this life. So the generators are here to respond to life, to not initiate. There's a little bit of nuance with the manifesting generator. We'll go into that later. But the first line of defense, like I said, is to respond to life. So I'll give you an example. There was a class a while back that I wanted to create. And I was like, oh, in my mind, I was like, just kind of in my creative zone and thinking about all these things that I wanted to create. So I wrote it all down, jotted it all down, make note of it, of everything. But then I'm like, all right, now I need to wait. And now that I have it in my mind, now that I'm like, ooh, like that lit me up, just even thinking about it, I'm going to wait and I'm going to see, is it going to come into my realm, my, external realm. So probably a month later or so, maybe 2 months, I'm not sure. It was a little while down the road. I got a message from a former client of mine asking if I was creating any classes basically based around what I had wanted to do. And I was like, huh, how interesting is that? Because she was going through some situations and was just curious and if I was creating anything like that, because she wanted to it was going to be time for her to do something like that. So I knew then, now I can take action because now I can respond to her question of like, hey, are you doing anything like this? Because, this is something that would be great. So that is what is correct. Now, if I would have just thought of it and ran with it without anything from my external environment, anything to respond to other than my thought, it would have just fallen flat, like most likely, or it would have been just a hassle. There would have been a lot of resistance around it. It just, to be in the highest level and highest, to have the highest output, I guess, of what we want to create as generators, the power is in the waiting and the power is in the responding and not initiating. The world tells us to initiate. Just do it, all those things if you want to. And so we have this fear around, if I don't go out and grab it, if I don't go out and just do it, then, oh my gosh, there's this fear, then I won't be able to create anything. I won't be able to do anything. And it's not true, because as we start to get more into alignment and start to understand how we are here, the directions for our own vehicles, right? Just like our owner's manual in our car, when we start to have that same mindset for ourselves, all of a sudden we start to run more smoothly. We start to, not notice all those bumps on the road anymore, or those bumps are, get more smoothed out along the way. So that is one of the biggest things for generators. And the generator's aura, like I said, it's enveloping and it's open, and it, in its most correct state, it provokes others to ask them questions so that they can respond. So just be aware of that. Play with that this week, as a lot of you are generators. Just wait. Don't, when you start to notice thought like, oh, I'm going to go do this, just don't, like, wait and just play with that and see how hard it is, to wait and to do that. See how conditioned, right? Like we have been to go just do those things. The signature theme every type has a signature theme to it. And for generators and manifesting generators, it is satisfaction. So the whole idea is when you go to bed at night, when you, your head hits the pillow, the whole goal is for you to feel satisfied. So for a generator, define what satisfaction means for you, because that's the only way to know, right? So satisfaction could mean one thing to one generator and another to another. So what does that mean for you? What does that feel like for you? And get clear on that for yourself. Because again, remember, human design isn't, this is about experimenting with your design and seeing, what does satisfaction mean for you? How does it feel for you? And the not self theme, how you'll know that you need to back up or you need to do something different. So a clue for you to go, uh-oh, I just acted out of my, conditioning or programming, is when you feel frustration. And for manifesting generators, it's frustration and anger. So what frustration can feel like is, say you're trying to initiate something as a generator, you get a thought in your mind and you're like, yeah, I'm going to do this. This lights me up. I'm excited. I'm going to go do this. But you feel like you're having to push down doors to get anywhere. Like nobody's wanting to do anything. You're trying to jump through all these hoops and it's frustrating because it just won't get done. That is when you can go, uh-oh, did I initiate? Did I wait? Did I respond to this? Or did I just go and do something and initiate a process that I, could have waited for and would have had a different experience with it had I waited. The other way it can show up for generators and manifesting generators is in the process of learning. So as generators' goal is to be in mastery. You're here to master yourselves, and you're here to really create a level of mastery in your craft, in your passion, in your work, in whatever it is that lights you up. And so because of the sacral defined, you have this life force energy that is always there, always reliable, that no other type has. You can learn these things really quick, and you can have this level of acceleration of you can learn things quick, you can achieve things really quickly, and then you hit a plateau. And that plateau always comes because this is the cycle for all generators is, an incline and then plateau, incline, plateau. So during the plateau, the whole thing is most generators and manifesting generators will throw their hands up and be like, all right, I'm done. I'm frustrated. I'm done. Now I feel like I'm, just working against the world here. I'm frustrated. I'm, angry. I'm all of these things and I'm just done. I'm done. But the thing is remembering that generators are here to become masters of their craft and master themselves. And so every time you give up, that means that you go backwards in that level of mastery. So during the plateau is here so that you develop a new relationship with frustration, so that you develop patience, you develop the power of waiting, because that is for a generator, there's power in waiting. There's power in staying consistent in your craft, in your trade, in your passion. Even if you're like, oh, I'm frustrated, that's the thing. If you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm frustrated right now, you can be like, oh yeah, because I'm doing the same thing that I did 2 months ago, and I'm not getting any results like I did before. So first check in with yourself and say, all right, is this still correct for me? If this was still going great, would I still love this? And if the answer is yes, then know that okay, I've just got to keep showing up. I've got to keep doing it. I've got to stay consistent. And I have to be dedicated to this, because then the more you're doing that and then working through that frustration and then moving also, like your body physically even moving through that frustration, and then waiting, you will get to that next increase of knowledge, of wisdom, of, whatever, that next incline that you're going to go through, that next, opening of oh gosh, okay, yes, now things are, opening up for me again. but then you're going to get to the next plateau. So you're going to get to, you get up to a new level plateau, and then you burst through as long as you stay dedicated, as long as you stay committed. And because this is about mastery. And so that's another area that frustration can show up. For a manifesting generator, frustration can show up in the same ways, but they also have anger with it as well too. So manifesting generators have a non-verbal creative flow about them. So if you're a manifesting generator, try to like see if this has happened to you, because this is what happens to me also, is I'm in my zone. I'm just in my flow. I'm doing what I need to do. And like, even when I'm preparing for my classes or preparing for clients and stuff, like I just get into the zone and I'm just like, and I'm just focused. And like one of my kids is like asking me questions, and then I'm like, like I can't be bothered by this. And so, because it takes me out of my flow. And so it can even be as simple as you doing your thing, moving around, like maybe just cleaning, maybe you're just cleaning the house, you're cleaning the kitchen, you're doing whatever it is, right? And you're like, I'm in the zone, I'm just doing it. And then somebody's like, hey, can I help you? Or what are you doing? Because it's this nonverbal thing. It's hard to put words to it because it's a nonverbal creative flow. So then it's easy then to experience what feels like maybe anger or frustration in that time, because then now you're having to come up with words to try to explain what you're doing. Or in those times, you probably don't even want help, because you're just in this mode where other people would actually probably impede what you're doing because you can move very fast. And so the way to not, or to diminish these situations, is to communicate, is to say, hey, like before, it happens, if you're going to sit down, like, I think I'm going to clean right now, and be like, hey, I'm going to clean right now. I don't need your help, but I just need to be in my flow. So please don't interrupt me. Right. And so you can communicate that if you have people around you that need that communication. Or you can just say, hey, if you notice that I'm in this flow, that I'm not talking, it's not personal, I just don't have words to be able to tell you, and I'm just in my zone, and I'll talk to you when I'm done. Because then you'll come out of that zone and you'll be fine. But you have to be allowed to be in that zone. And it's nonverbal creative flow. And it can feel very, you can experience anger in that. It's not a personal anger towards the other person. It's just like, you're just it takes you out of that flow, and that can get angering. So you, again, I can't stress this enough too. As generators, you are here to have people ask you questions so you can respond. You do better when you have yes, no questions, because then you can really engage your sacral in the response. Again, it's a lot of nonverbal processes, within the generator, and the sacral is nonverbal. There's just noise. It's like a grunt. It can be a movement with the body. It can just be a noise. It's very nonverbal. And so if you are feeling like, say somebody's asking you open-ended questions and you're not quite sure how to respond, maybe ask them to rephrase it in a yes, no question for you, and then see how you respond differently. And so when generators and manifesting generators wait, and when you wait for people to come and ask you the question, or wait for something to respond to, rather than act from an idea in your mind, you do become a magnet. It's how we mess that up as generators, is initiating, because our conditioning is so strong. It's so powerful. But the more you're like aware of yourself and going, oh my gosh, I just want to go do this. All right, work through that, right? Go move your body, go work through that. And remember, the truth is that what is meant for you will come into your field so that you can respond. And you are a magnet. You can imagine yourself, even do a visual exercise of you being a magnet and attracting, the exact things that are correct for you. Because you're here to be a builder, and you're here to use your life force energy to create. But it has to light you up. It has to be something that is exciting to you, because that is how you get access to this life force energy. If you're doing things that you can because you have the energy, chances are you're going to have health issues down the road. You're going to have mental like issues, anxiety, depression, and physical health issues as well too, because our sacral gets turned on, literally turned on, and we are given access to this energy when it gives us a yes. But if our sacral is saying, ugh, it's a no, and we do it anyway, it's just, we are going to be meeting so much resistance, and we're not in alignment. Our geometry then is moving, if you think of a square, right, that's trying to move then, in a circular space or another space that's not meant to fit into there, it's going to get ugly, it's going to hurt, it's going to feel really frustrating. And so that is a really important thing to consider. So let's see here. Manifesting generators. You're called the time bender because you can do a lot of things in a short amount of time and skip a lot of steps along the way. And it's beautiful because you show people how there are some things, probably there's certain directions, maybe if you're putting together something that don't need to really do that. We can skip that step. And we can skip that step over here, or we can do it this way instead of this way, and it'll be quicker because you just want to get things done. And that's beautiful and that's wonderful. However, there are times then too where a manifesting generator has to go back because they might feel stuck. It's not that you're stuck, it's that you skip steps along the way, that now because of that you have to go back and correct some of those steps to make it work. So a big thing with manifesting generators is developing patience, like a relationship with patience. And just slowing down sometimes. And I know this personally as a manifesting generator. My whole adult life, I've had people say, I don't know how you do everything that you do in the time that you have. And I just thought it was normal because it's just what I do. But I know though, I get frustrated too, because I don't like to follow directions. I like to do it my own way. And I do skip steps along the way. And some things are okay. I can skip those steps and it's okay. Some things it is frustrating and it's beneficial. I'm like, oh shoot, I knew I shouldn't have skipped that. I knew I should have just been patient and slowed down through that and gotten it done probably faster actually in the end. And so, but the thing is that manifesting generators have a power of quantum leaping. That's why you're a time bender, and you show people how to do things quicker, how to be more efficient with your time. And like I said, there are certain steps that are unnecessary and some are necessary, but you're here to know and to become a master of like, oh, yep. The more you slow down, the more then you can tune in and go, yeah, that step is necessary. We don't want to miss that, rather than just, go, and then go, oh shit, I should have waited on that. I should have been patient on that. So the biggest thing, again, like I said, with the generators is the power of waiting and the power of responding and understanding that there is only doing things that light you up, that your sacral says yes to. And we're going to go more into the strategies and authorities, in another class. And then remembering the plateau and acceleration and, frustration, the cycle of that, because it's a never ending cycle. It's just what generators go through. And so the biggest thing for generators too or another big thing is just stop chasing your life and see what happens when you let your life happen. So stop chasing your life and see what happens when you just let it happen. Let your life happen. Be the passenger and see what comes to you so that then you can respond to it. Any questions on generators right now?
I have a quick question, Erin. I'm not sure if it's specifically about generators, but I'm curious. So when we put in our birth time, what if someone doesn't know their exact birth time and they just guess?
So that's a really good question. And that happens, right? Because sometimes it's not on birth certificates. Sometimes, You know, I've had so many clients too, where like they'll ask, like if their parents are still living or whatever. And then I was like, well, I think it was around this time, you know, and they don't know, you know? And so, so what we can do is we can check. I mean, sometimes it's 1 minute will be off, like a chart will be off sometimes 1 minute. Mine is, there's a variable that shifts, actually a couple of them that shifts by like 1 minute. Sometimes it depends on the time of, you know, and when the planets and everything like that, you know, we're moving in the sky. But there, you can get your chart, gosh, what is it called? Called like rectified or something like that. I'm not sure, but an astrologer, I don't do this, but there are astrologers that will be able to work back and figure it out actually for someone if they can't figure it out for themselves. I don't know, or if they don't know it, like the exact time. It does make a difference. However, to know the basics, like the foundational things, generally you can kind of get a clue if you just put in your time. If somebody says like, well, I know it was between like noon and 1. I do know that. So then run it at like 12, see what comes up. Run it at like 12:15, 12:30, 12:45. See if there's any major differences, right? See if it's like, oh yeah, it's still a generator, it's still a projector. Okay. Does the cross the same? Is like the numbers pretty much the same? Or that, you know what I mean? Are the centers defined that were defined before? If somebody just wants that kind of basic information or the foundational, generally you can figure that out from that. If they're wanting more detailed information, it's important to get the exact time. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Any other questions about a generator or manifesting generator? Did that like relate to manifesting generators and generators out there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So generators are, I mean, again, if we didn't have, if there were no generators, I mean, there would be no life itself. I mean, that's how integral like generators are to this world. But it's so important that, again, right now, generators are here to literally like to transmute the archetype of the slave, because it's like really about like, it is about going against the grain and saying, no, I am going to do this. That lights me up. And I know that it's possible, right? It's only our programming, our fears that come from our parents, that come from ancestors, that come from just society that says, no, you must work and you must, you know, just do it and get it done. You don't have to enjoy it. You shouldn't enjoy it. All those things, you can do it. You can live, we can all live life that way. But it's not correct for how we're designed. And life isn't meant to, yeah. So we're meant to respond from our sacral and be in that space. And when we're not, we know it too, because it just feels like a drudgery. It's like, oh my God, I gotta go to work today. You know, and it's hard. It's hard to do that. That's our sacral saying, I don't have energy for this. So I'm realizing the time right now. And so I'm going to get through the projector next. And then the next class, we're going to go through the other types. And I just want to make sure, I don't want to skim this material, and I want to get through it as thoroughly as possible. So we'll get through the projector, and then we'll finish up with that, and then go over the other reflector and manifestor next time. So projector is roughly 20 to 22% of the population. Different sources will say, you know, different things, but roughly around that. The projector emerged after 1781. If you remember last week's class, we talked about 1781, and that is when we moved from 7-centered beings to 9-centered beings. It's also when Uranus was discovered. That is when the Industrial Revolution, the Revolutionary War, everything shifted. And so the projector is the newest type out of all of the types. And they're also called the orchestrator. And they are here to guide others. They are here to be our planetary guides. They are brilliant guides, and they need to be recognized though, and they need to be invited to guide. So they're here to guide, and they are here to know the other. How to tell if someone is a projector. So the simplest way to tell if someone is a projector is if you look at that same spot, that sacral, and if it's not defined on the chart. Now, we'll go into more specifics on how to, tell, because that could also be in a manifestor, right? But that is the quickest way to tell. The other, I don't want to go into that right now because I don't want it to be confusing, but basically it's a non-energy type. So projectors are a non-energy type. They don't have the sacral defined. The sacral is an energy center that they do not have access to consistent and reliable energy. And so their aura is focused and absorbing, and the aura actually provokes recognition and the invitation. So projectors need to be recognized. Projectors need to be invited to guide, invited to share, invited to speak into someone else's life. They have so much wisdom into the other. And it's hard sometimes for a projector to not want to help guide, because they know the answer. And they can see people sometimes walking down these roads of like, oh my God, why are they doing that? I know they should be doing that. But if nobody asks, then it's hard for a projector to just not say anything. But a lot of times if a projector starts to guide without being invited, they won't get listened to. They get looked at as maybe, being too controlling, maybe bossy, just a know-it-all, all of those things. And it's not that they are trying to be that. They just know, and they want to share because they really want to help. But the more that happens, that if a projector is sharing and if they're guiding without being invited or asked, they can feel very bitter. So that is their not self theme as a projector, is bitterness. So a way that a projector can tell if they are not being in alignment with their own design and with themselves is if they're feeling bitter, if they're like, oh, nobody in my life gives a crap. They don't see me for who I am. They don't hear me. Nobody listens to me. Nobody sees how valuable I am. All these things. And it can just, this bitterness, and a very not self projector. And you can tell sometimes people out there, just pay attention. If you know somebody that's like, maybe you can classify them as very bitter, they'll start to project their bitterness onto other people as well too. And so, so just pay attention to that. But their signature theme, so the theme that they're wanting to be in, is a feeling of success. And so just like I had with the generator, as a projector, what basically what is your definition of success? So define that for yourself, and then you will know what that feels like then. And then when you're in that space, then you're like, okay, I'm in alignment here. And so, and it doesn't necessarily mean like success is in material or whatever. It can, but it's really about like, do I feel successful in the information that I'm sharing? Do I feel successful in this environment around these people at being recognized even? Do I feel recognized? Do I feel valued for me, for being me, for my opinion, for my guidance? And that is really where the whole success comes from, because then you're like, oh my gosh, yes. Because to be recognized as a projector is like no other feeling in the world, because that is what a projector is here for, is to be recognized. And so if you are a projector, and Beth, you are a projector, and if there's any other projectors that you are not here to work. And I know that sounds really crazy in this world that we live in, right? But you are not here to work. You are here to know others. You are here to recognize and to guide them. But that can only happen if you are recognized and then invited to do so. It's also very important to know that the openness, so all of the open centers in a projector's chart is where you're receiving and sampling other people's energy. So you're bringing that in, and so that gives you insight into the other, because all of the white centers in the chart is where you're receiving information in. So when you're around someone, you're bringing all that information in, and then you're able to go, oh, okay, that's what it's like to be them. Like say it's your G center, your identity center. So it gives you insight into the other so that you're able to actually guide them. Biggest thing is don't attach yourself to that. It's who they are, so you can guide them. It's not you, it's for them. Your strategy is to wait for an invitation, and it's in the important areas of your life. So basically, matters of love, career, friendship, places to live, like if you're moving, things like that. You're here to wait for that invitation for the big things in your life. Let's see, always listen. So biggest thing for projectors, listen, and listen more, and then listen more. And so, because this is really your gift, is to be able to listen, because this is how you're bringing in more information actually on into the other. So, and then only share when you're invited to do this. And so, because I mean, deep down, you have such incredible insight, and you have incredible seeing into the other. Again, your aura is very focused and absorbing. You're focused into the other. You can see somebody else and their gifts and their, gifts and their downfalls, all of it, more so than they can probably see in themselves. But they won't hear it if you're not invited. That is how your aura works, is it has to be invited in order for it to be received by the other. So you take in people deeply. You clearly see who they are. One of the biggest fears of projectors is that they will not be invited. So then they initiate, and then that creates this eternal, cycle of bitterness of like, oh, I want to share, and so I'm going to share, because if I don't share, or if I don't do this, I won't be invited, and I don't want to not be seen. And so maybe if I share here, or they seem like they might be receptive to this, so I'm just going to do this anyway. And then something happens where people, they don't hear it, or you get talked over, or whatever. They just can't, they're not in a position to see it, because the energy isn't working that way. It's literally, it's just mechanics. They're not able to hear it. It's not personal. They're just not able. But the more bitter than a projector will feel, it just continues that cycle. And so, I've heard it said that the projector, the longer you choose to trust and to wait in faith, and waiting for those invitations, and waiting to be asked to even speak, to like share your opinions, is that you become like the master in the Karate Kid that will be able to discern who you give your wisdom to, rather than just giving it to anyone, just with the hopes that they'll take it and do something with it. Because it is so important for projectors to preserve their energy. You have such a brilliant energy and amazing energy, and it's very, it's fragile isn't the word, but it's sacred. And you don't want to just be giving it to anybody. And so when they ask, if you feel that they're worthy of your guidance, that is when you give it. But that's it. And that's important, because we all want to be seen, all of us do, and we all want to be heard, and we all want to be seen. And so a lot of times we do things in the hopes that we will be, but it never works out for the projectors the way they want to if they're not waiting. So one of the things that you can do as a projector is start to recognize yourself, start to pay attention to who you are, your values. What is the value that you bring to the world? Maybe asking someone else, like, hey, what is it that I bring to, what are some of my gifts that you see? And because sometimes what the projector can feel is like, I don't know, because the projector doesn't know themselves as much as they know the other. And so, get in tune with that. But the more you can recognize yourself, the more you're able then to walk into a room with the energy and the presence of, I don't need anybody to recognize me in here. I recognize me fully for who I am. I don't need anybody else to. Because when you make that energetic shift and it's authentic and it's in integrity with yourself, that is when people will go, oh my gosh, because remember, your aura invites people in to invite you and to recognize you. But when you are trying to get that recognition, right? And to like, you're hoping somebody comes and like sees it, like, oh, I have this wisdom, I hope somebody like calls on me or whatever. That's when they don't. And then it's easy then to feel and get in that bitterness cycle. So be picky about who you spend time with and the environments that you're in, and recognize yourself. Work on that more than anything else. Do not compromise yourself. Projector energy generally wants to do so much. They think they can do more than they can. And I have seen so many projectors in mid-age, like in their 40s, like 30s and 40s, start to have major health issues around midlife because they've overextended themselves and they don't have the energy centers to be able to do that. And their physical body just literally starts to break down. And so it's so important that you're picky, you know, with people, you know, and don't just give away your precious energy and your precious guidance unless you feel that they are worthy of that. And that might be a really hard place to be in at times of like, oh my gosh, everybody's worthy, right? Yes, but not everybody's worthy maybe of your words or of your energy. And being in that space is going to allow for the correct invitations to come in when you don't need it anymore from outside of yourself. Own your own power inside and know and embody that feeling of, you know, being given this gift of sight. You're a seer, and know that, and you don't need anybody else to recognize that in you. You hold that and you embody that, and then see what happens. And so, yeah, so remember, you are designed to be seen because you are a seer. So, you know, waiting for that invitation and being picky about who you're with is going to be very key for you. So, all right. So that's projector, generator, and manifesting generator. Any questions about those three for tonight? No. And I didn't even get in every detail. So we have plenty of time though. We're going to get through all of it because these are such rich profiles, or not profiles, but such rich types, and all of them are. And this is the foundation. Like when we start to understand like, oh, that person's a manifesting generator. Okay, they're probably learn really quickly. They're fast moving. They probably get frustrated because the world doesn't keep up with them as fast as they go. And they, you know, and it's like, that's a manifesting generator. It's like, come on, people, can't you just get this? Let's just go. I don't have time to explain this 5 times to you. Let's just do this thing. Can't you just get it figured out, you know? And there could be a lot of that, you know, and a projector is just, you know, a beautiful being, you know, that has such insight and such wisdom to share, but not giving it away to people who aren't, you know, worthy of that. So there's so many projectors I know that they're like, I wish I wasn't a projector. Because how do I navigate this? Because when we go into projectors too, there's 3 different types of even projectors as well too. So we'll go into those types as well too, so that you can start to understand and go, oh, there's energy projectors. There's projectors with the ego defined. There's mental projectors, there's classic projectors, there's, you know, yes, different projectors within the projector family. So, but we'll get into all that. So, yeah, it gets complex. Is everybody hanging in there so far? Awesome. So this next week, you know, the types that we went over now, like, it could be fun to do this as an assignment for you. See in your in your life, like guess, like based on who they are, right? Like go, out of these 3 types that we've gone over, does this person or this person, like, I bet that they're a generator, or they might be a manifesting generator. Oh gosh, they might even be a projector. Like, just maybe like take note of that and just kind of start to tune in and recognize that like within people. And then if they'll let you run their chart, you know, just maybe do that. It might be a fun experiment just to see, like, to tune into, you know, to other people and just see. Or if you know somebody that you already know their type, and be like, oh, that makes sense. Yes, like, can do this, you know. Even children too, whatever your children that you have, like understanding them even more too, and all that. So it's so valuable. So valuable. So let me see here. Just reading Wendy's comment, and then Sue, sometimes it's hard for you. Yes, it is hard to wait. That's the thing. It's hard. It is so hard. It takes everything in me sometimes too, to just go, okay, Erin, nope, nope, nope. You're just going to wait. It takes self-discipline. It really does. Like when we start to learn these things about ourselves, it's like, oh shit, so I can't just do that. Like, oh, I can, but that might make things a little bit more difficult or more stress, or more resistance. That's the thing with human design. It's like the more we start to develop this and walk in this, we start to experience less and less resistance. And then when we start to notice it, we notice it more because we're so much more sensitive than to resistance. And it's like, oh, okay, what am I doing? Where do I need to back up? What do I need to, like, what did I initiate on that I should have waited, right? Like, whoa, did I just give somebody advice? They didn't ask for it. And now I'm ticked off because, they didn't listen to me and they just went ahead and did it anyway. It's like, oh, but I didn't wait to be, invited also to speak, right? So there's these things. And if we just like, oh, just wait and trust. How beautiful. So. All right, everyone. I'm honoring the time tonight, and I'm gonna sign off. If anybody has any comments, any questions at all for next week, anything from last week, now's the time to ask. If not, we'll sign off. And yeah.
Oh, so I think, can you hear me? Okay. Manifesting generator, it'll say on the chart manifesting generator, not just generator. I was just looking at my families and stuff. So we got 3 generators and a projector. And then I'm a manifester. So yeah, it's kind of fun. The projector, it sounds just like my little 4-year-old.
Yes, I have a projector kiddo myself too. So yeah. And I will say this, being a non-energy type as a parent, and having energy types as children can get a lot. So make sure that if you know anybody in that place, and if you are in that space, take time to rest, especially non-energy types, rest as much as you can. You're not lazy when you rest, even as a mom. You need it to actually show up in your best way. Rest. You need it. You don't need to be a generator. Generators can do all those things, like they can. That's just how they're designed. But non-energy types are not designed for that. So know that, recognize that. And every other type is being conditioned to be a generator. And this is the science of differentiation. It's time to step out and go, that's great for you, but I need to go take a nap right now. Because I don't have the energy to show up in the way that I know I can be at my best if I don't take care of myself. It's really the highest form of self-care when we can turn away from the conditioning of society, the conditioning of just everything, and go, nope, I know what's correct for me right now. And even if everybody around us can't see that, that is courage right there. That is courage, and that is bravery, and that is what is needed right now. So, all right.
Wait, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay, so just curious, being a manifestor generator, do other manifesting generators just feel like people suck the living life out of you all the time? I mean, I know that we are energetic and maybe we're not supposed to feel like that, but I often feel like I get like an energy suck from me. Does that make sense?
Yes. So what I would say to that is, what are you saying yes to, and who are you saying yes to when your sacral is actually saying no?
Okay. Therein lies the answer, probably.
Yes, because your sacral will have the energy and you won't feel like it's being sucked from you when you're saying yes to the things that your sacral is like, yes, because it turns on and it gives you the energy to do that. When it's not, you're like, ugh, and everything becomes frustrating, even annoying. It's just like everything that you don't want. And then it affects your health too.
Yes.
It's affected mine like 5 years ago, something like that. I won't go into it all, but it was right before I learned about human design, and I was doing something out of fear, and and I got really sick. I didn't have just one illness. I ended up getting 2 illnesses at the same freaking time because my sacral kept saying no, and it kept giving me it, and I wasn't listening, but I didn't know. I didn't know at that time. I knew it, but it was out of fear. I was like, no, but I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. And and then I finally, like, my body was just like, you're not doing it anymore. And I finally had to say no because of that. So this helps us to go, oh yeah, no.
Yeah, I can see that because I have, health issues too. And I think that's probably a lot of it's been generated from the fact that I probably wanted to say no deep down, but I just say yes all the time.
One of the biggest things too for generators is, as we're growing up, most kids aren't allowed to say no. So we're not in touch with our no, right? And so to say no seems scary sometimes because that like really brings out that inner child, right? That hurt inner child of like, oh, when I said no, I wasn't allowed to say no, or I got in trouble when I said no, and all of these things. And so when we start to go, oh my gosh, like, why can't I say no here, right? We get curious about that. And like, what fear does that bring up? Like, am I afraid I'll be rejected, by people, or they won't like me, or whatever it is, right? Like, if I say no to this, what is the fear if I say no to this? And so there's a lot of we can use human design to really heal a lot of our inner wounds as well too. Father wound, mother wound. I'm going through actually a father wound class right now using human design, and it's fascinating. And so yeah, keep that in mind and just pay attention to that. And like, what situations are you in your life, Danielle, that like that feel like are sucking you dry, or sucking the energy out of you, and go, oh, I wonder what it would be like if I said no to this, and would I like to say no to this? And if so, what's preventing me from saying no to this? Just get curious.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, all right. Everyone, you all have a beautiful rest of your evening tonight. And I would love to, I want to be more active in the group here this week too, especially as we're getting more into this. So look for more posts from me, and just loving this journey we're on. And please, if there's any questions that come up in the week, please post them in the group. I'm happy to, to help out in any way that I can between classes as well too. So have a beautiful rest of your night, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.